Hi everybody, welcome to the channel. My name's Lutilisius. Welcome to this video. Today we're going to be doing an in-depth guide on Blight Ravaged maps. Everything from how to juice them, to how to run them, what anointments you use on your maps, what anointments you use on your ring, the just crazy amount of profit you can make running them, everything and anything. If you're already familiar with this content, stick around anyway. There might be some information you didn't yet know which could help you out running these, making it a more smooth, safe and fun experience for everyone. We will also be adding chapters to the timeline of the video, so if there's information that you feel you could skip or information that you feel is extra important for you as a Blight Ravaged enjoyer, please skip to the timeline chapters below. Alright guys, let's get into it. What's the difference between a Blight Ravaged map and a normal Blight map? There's a couple of key differences that we need to note before we go on. A normal Blight map items quantity modifiers also affect Blight chest counts at about 25% value. Now 25% value meaning that if you have 100% quant on your map, there is a 25% increase in the amount of chests you will gain at the end of your encounter. For a Blight Ravage map, that's actually 50%, which is a huge difference. We'll get into that later, especially if we start thinking about quant scaling past 400%. Another difference here is that one can only be anointed 3 times, while the other can be anointed 9 times. Which is very important for our strategy later on and how we get to the 11 divine plus per hour that we get in terms of profit. Now obviously all of this comes at a pretty big cost. 200% more monster life, 20% increased monster movement speed, making these maps beefy. So why would you want to do Blight Ravaged maps? It's kind of repetitive, isn't it? Well, yes, some content is a little bit more dynamic, but when you do these Blight Ravaged maps and when you put on, for instance, 3 teals, trust me, you're gonna have your hands full. It's gonna be a challenge, very challenging, also great profit. You really do feel you're getting rewarded for the amount of effort you put into these maps, making these a great content to do as soon as possible in the league. We're gonna talk a little bit about the profit next. Let's see the amount of profit we got over a 10-hour period doing 60 of these maps. Now, as you can see, we did 60 maps total. We did a test before that showcasing that we could do 6 maps per hour, which is 10 minutes per map. The cost per map is 1.3 divine. That means the cost per hour are 6 times 1.3 equals 7.8 divines per hour. I know the 7 looks a lot like the 1, it's the font guys, can't help it. Now the total income from that test, we're going to show that on the video, is 192.43 divines. Now if we do 6 maps an hour and we did 60 maps, we need to divide that by 10, resulting in 19.24 divine dropped per hour, which is redonk. That is ridiculous, like crazy. That's not the profit per hour. We gotta subtract that map cost, that 7.8, giving us a net profit of 11.44 divines per hour. Now I absolutely lost my cool when I saw this. You're gonna hear that in the next video. I apologize for the crackling mic and the cutting out and the quality, but I'm gonna show you guys exactly how we found out through tracking our profit with poestack. If you haven't checked that out guys yet, please check out poestack.com, great new program. But we're gonna show you the video, we're gonna show you that in this segment, how we found these numbers out, and it was amazing guys. Here we go. And that's it guys, we've done 60 of the most juicy Blight Ravaged Omega juice. Did we or did we not beat it? We're gonna find out right now guys. Here we go. Go to the POB screen, we're gonna go to this screen and we will click snapshot. Before we do that, look at those numbers. Yesterday in 410 minutes with 20 minutes break, we got 17.68 divine per hour. We need to subtract the cost of running the maps, but that still puts us at an even 10 divine per hour. That does not matter right now. Plain and simple, we've had sleep in between and all that stuff, so the divine per hour count is off. But we're gonna do that manually because we know we do 6 maps per hour. Are you guys ready? Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Holy shit! Let me show you guys what that is per hour. We need to divine 192.43 divided by the hours that we end running. And guess what guys, we do 6 maps an hour, we did 60 maps, that's divided by 10. 19.2 divines per hour. 19.2. And I know it sounds a little crazy, but it's only because I'm losing my mind. That is ridiculous. That's so fucking insane. Okay, we need to subtract 7.8 map cost. That's our actual profit per hour without an insane drop. Alrighty then guys, as you could see my voice was a little crackling there, the microphone quality was a little bit low, apologies again, but you could see and hear the surprise in my voice right there. I did not expect the numbers to be that good. Absolutely amazing results, but there are always people that want to know the exact build up of these numbers, and that's why we made a bit of a cost per map template. Let's take a look at the difference between bulk versus single prices. And when I say bulk versus single prices, let me be clear. What I mean is you can search for bulk rate, which would be divine is what you have as a buyer and you want to buy maps or fragments or oils. That is a bulk rate. You will get more, but you will also spend more. Single rate means I have chaos and I want a single item for the amount of chaos I have, which is what we call single price for now. That's what we mean by bulk versus single, and obviously bulk is more expensive. You can get a good decent amount of bulk by using chaos as a search modifier. So it's not always the case that you have to buy these items one by one. Let's take a look at the prices and you will see why I am in favor of buying some of these things in bulk and some of these things in single prices. Ravage maps. 8 divines will get you 60 on TFT in a bulk rate, right? Which translates into 36 chaos per map. The single price is 30 chaos. I would say, that is a 20% difference, but I would say because it's 6 chaos per map difference, you may just want to go ahead and buy the bulk, because buying these single one by one is a pain. For fragments, same story. 0.16 divine, 44 chaos for all of them put together, 39 chaos in single prices. If there is enough single price on the market, just go for single price. If not, go for the bulk. There is not much of a difference there. Where you will save most of your currency in terms of investment is definitely the oils. 1 divine buys you 4 oils. Now, as you can see in these calculations, we did between these brackets, right? 1 divine divided by 4, which is the price. 1 divine gets you 4 golden oils. And you gotta do that times 3 because you put 3 oils on the map, which gives you the cost. That's the bulk cost, that's the single cost. And as you can see, the differences in cost mostly comes from oils. Now, there is a lot of people that put these golden oils up for 60 chaos each. Just search for minimum stock 4 or 5. You spend maybe a little bit longer, but you save a lot of currency. With the projects that we've been doing, sometimes we do 60 to 100 maps, 100 maps, 0.2 divine difference, 20 divine difference. Take it or leave it, I would definitely take it. So this is how we got to the 1.3 divine that we used in our previous calculations. Now, enough about the numbers. I think we've seen enough numbers for now. Let's get right into the nitty-gritty as to how we run these maps as safe and efficient as possible. Let's get into how to run Blight Ravage map. Now, we're gonna split this up in a couple of chapters, and the first chapter I think we should talk about is the oils we use on the maps. Why we use them and why I believe some of these oils to be mandatory. Let's take a look. Now, the wording is kind of vague here. The triple gold is one of the mandatories. Triple gold shows up as 18% increased pack size. We don't really care about that. But here we go. 90% chance for blight chests to contain an additional reward. Now, I know for a fact it's not just me, a lot of other people as well have a bit of a misconception around this, because this kinda looks like, let's say you have 10 rewards. You open up a chest and 10 items drop out. Now there is a 90% chance for that chest to drop an 11th item, an additional reward. This is not the case. What this does is there is a 90% chance for this chest to open again. You could say 90% chance of double loot, but that's not entirely correct because the loot doesn't copy in any way. But basically the trigger from the chest to drop its items with all the loot tables that are connected to that chest happens again at a 90% chance. Let me show you visually, because it sounds a little complicated, what that means. We're gonna do one of these maps and I'm gonna show you the loot at triple golden and without triple golden. Alright, here we are. Let's take a look at the golden oil versus non-golden oil loot. When we open, we see 6 stacked decks, right? Let me not pick them up, just take a look at it. Take a look at the pile of stacked decks. That's important. Remember that I told you guys that I felt that it's somewhat doubled loot. It's not accurate because it doesn't copy loot. But let's take a look, right? If you look at these chests, what do you see? The highest count is 8 stacked decks. 7, 8, 6, 6, 6, 6, right? But 8 is the highest. Let's see if that is coincidence. We go to another chest with stacked decks over here. This is with the golden oil. Stacked decks opened, and again we see 8, 7, right? Now this makes me believe, and it's kind of obvious if you look at this, that there is a 90% chance of the entire chest's reward to trigger again. And if this chest would have dropped stacked decks again, that changes your 4 stacked deck count into a 7 or 8 stacked deck count, as you can see. So this is an example of a map without the golden oil. So if my theory is correct, we should see no more than 4 stacked decks per pile. Maybe 5 if you get lucky. Now as you can see in the upper right corner of the screen, we have in fact made a fully omega juiced map. We're looking at 425% quantity. Trust me, it's a biggie boy. The only thing it doesn't have is the golden oils. Let's see what happens. 3 stacked decks. 3. That's it, right? Now we might have been unlucky there. There's another pile of stacked decks here. Just double check. But as you can see, again, the highest amount of stacked decks we get is 3. Now take it from me, the highest you will usually get is 4. But it's showing 3. Now this proves, to me at least, the point that yes, getting those 3 gold oils on there is a 90% chance of actually triggering the entire loot from the chest again. That's what an additional reward means, guys. Okay, so now that we have the golden oil misconception out of the way and we know exactly what it is and what it does, you guys have a pretty good idea of why I believe that oil to be mandatory for pretty much all min-max Blight Ravage profiting. Now what's the other mandatory oil that I feel we have to use? Triple silver. What does it do? 240% increased quantity of items found in this area. Basically it adds 240% map quant or 80% per silver oil. Now remember what I told you when I showed you the difference between a normal Blight map and a Blight Ravage map? Blight Ravage maps make map quantity modifiers count towards chest count at a 50% value. That means the numerical value of the sum total of all of your reward chests combined at the end of the map is directly influenced by map quant, making this 240% smack right on top of that mandatory. There's nothing else better than this to get more loot. For the third oils, there is a bit of a discussion. Some people think triple open because 54 chests are lucky. Now lucky is a bit of a vague term, but what it basically does is it does an internal roll of the loot that drops from your chests. It does it again and chooses the roll that had the highest tier modifiers. For instance, if you would drop a Chaos Orb in roll number 1, but in roll number 2 you drop a Exalted Orb or Divine, lucky means it will then choose that secondary roll and you will drop the Divine or the Exalt. That's what lucky means. Now another option you have here is going teal. Teal makes this entire encounter spawn a lot faster, but obviously that has some disadvantages. You will have less lucky chests and chances of getting overrun because all of these monsters are coming at you very quickly increase. Therefore there are a couple of situations where you want to choose one or the other, or a balance of the two. I would say if your build is powerful enough to handle the speed, I would go for more speed. We've tested this over 120 maps and it does in fact appear that speed trumps quality at least for this content. I think that's pretty much it for the oils, at least in terms of Blight Ravage maps. If you do normal Blight maps, you have a variety of options. You could go triple teal for speed, because you only have one anointment. You could go triple amber, so your towers cost a lot less to build, but we're talking about the Blight Ravage maps, and we've covered pretty much the best combinations for that content. Alright, so now it's time we take a look at the possibility of ring anointments. Ring anointments are anointments where you use a combination of 2 oils on your rings. It gives you a pretty sizable power advantage. Now, some of these advantages may include ranges of towers, power of towers, effect of towers. I have included a link in this little picture right here, and if you go to Google and you type Kiwi ring anointments, you will find this site instantly. Pretty easy. But I feel after the tests that we have done, and I want to thank the community as well for the information provided within those tests, that the only viable ring anointments for us right now with this specific build are these 2. The meteor towers create burning ground for 3 seconds on hit. It is an insane increase in power from the meteor towers. So much extra power, clears the little guys but also the bosses. Definitely something you want to have. And this one right here, where chilling towers freeze enemies for 0.2 seconds while they are affected by chilling beams. Now the interesting thing about this one is that now means your chilling towers no longer need to be empowered. You can make these standalone chilling towers. The only thing you do is upgrade them a little bit for range, but just a tier 1 chilling tower will now freeze bosses. This is very good for slowing things down and making it easier for you to progress. You're gonna see this in the complete map showcase that we're gonna do later on, and see this in action. It is the best enchantment I feel right now there is. But I would suggest, I highly recommend actually, to use the combination of the meteor burning ground and the chilling towers. Thank you community for that information. Definitely will never stop using it again. The next thing we're going to talk about is what towers do you want to build, do you need to build inside your map to keep the map and the progress as safe as possible and avoid being overrun. This ties in with the last subject that we've talked about, which is the ring anointments. So let's take a look. For tower building, I would say defense always first, and with the ring anointment that we just showed you guys, that means we're gonna build chill towers. Now that ring anointment also makes sure we don't need to empower that chill tower, so just a tier 1 chill tower standing alone is gonna do a hell of a lot for the safety of your map. There's 2 things that can mess it up. One would be the modifier that you can roll on your maps, which is called monsters action speed cannot be lower than their base value, and the other one would be if the monsters are coming from an actual full tower. In that case, your chill towers have no effect on those monsters. Now the next tower we need to build are stun towers. We want to keep the stun towers at a maximum of tier 3. We want to build a powering tower with a maximum of tier 3 next to it. What this does is the standalone stun tower does not have any anointment like your chill tower ring anoint, which means it will not perma-stun enemies unless it is empowered. As you can see in this picture, I made a bit of a green circle, looks simple, but you want to keep your stun towers within the green circle of your empowered tower to keep them empowered. Outside of the circle, your empowering tower does nothing for your stun towers. If you upgrade your empowering tower too much, it no longer empowers your towers, it only empowers you and your minions. For this strategy we want to keep our empowered tower at a tier 3 maximum. That brings us to the last tower that I suggest we build, which is the offensive tower, and that's the meteor tower. Now the damage on that, it says very high, rains meteors from the sky, but keep in mind we have that ring anoint that we just discussed, and the damage is absolutely amazing. Again, we want to have it empowered by a tier 3 empowering tower if possible, and this combination with the ring anointment really will do most of the clearing. I would suggest sticking to these 3 and you will clear 99% of the maps by tower strategies that we just showed you. The ideal cluster would look like this. Setting up a cluster like this around your pump on all directions where the enemies are approaching pretty much guarantees you will have a nice and smooth experience running this. Alright, so now we know everything about building towers, about ring anointments, oils and all that kind of stuff, and we can run, right? There's no way this can go wrong, right? Well, maybe not. What if you get a horrible corruption on your map? You just invested over a divine in making a map, you hit it with a Val Orb, and this happens. You see both monsters cannot be stunned and monsters' action speed cannot be modified to below base value. Now, the cannot be stunned disables your stun towers, and the action speed disables your chill and freeze towers. Although stun towers would still work on the action speed modifier if that was the only modifier on the map. But you have both. Now, if you have a multi-mirror build, you'll probably still be fine. But what if you don't? Is there a way to save this map? Well, there is a nifty little trick that we've learned how to save this, and that trick is Twist of Fate. Yes guys, Twist of Fate. So while nothing of this Atlas tree works inside Blight maps, Twist of Fate does still work. It will re-roll the map into new modifiers, which has a very big chance of at least removing, pretty much 100% of at least removing one of the two modifiers, saving your map and making this a map that you can in fact clear. Alright, so we get it, right? It's crazy content, it is an insane map, you've got high level monsters, high damage. What kind of builds would shine in this content? Well, as for me, I am using a Carrion Golem Zombie hybrid. It's a minion build. Minions historically do well. Not in the first place because of the proxy bubbles, right? The proximity shields that some monsters have. These minions jump right inside there and they don't care about proxy bubbles. That is one advantage. The other advantage is we are using a double explodey setup. We are using an AG, which is wielding a explodey chest combined with the Gravebound gloves. And the Gravebound gloves makes it so that nearby kills counts as your own. In this case, it counts as the AG kills, triggering the chest to trigger explosions. I have then further enhanced this by making sure that the gloves have a curse on hit modifier on there, which means that when the armor of the AG triggers and the enemies explode, everything around it gets cursed, which then triggers this Flash and Flame, Profane Bloom. It's a double explode, works really well. This is not a cheap setup, but it's very fun to play. If you're interested in checking the build out, I will include the POB of this build in the video description. Now, another build that comes to mind and that I've been told is very good is called Blade Vortex, because the Val element of Blade Vortex spreads like wildfire and you have those popping elements of the Profane Bloom in there as well, creating that nice little pop, which is really nice for the clear. Another thing to look for might be proliferation in your build. Any builds that spread elements like fire, burning, those kind of things would do pretty well. They do historically well. I haven't tested it yet, but I would think that that works. And any builds that do chaining. Chaining meaning that your damage chains along the range of these enemies that are close together in these red lanes, these red dotted lanes. So that's pretty much it for builds and what to look for. I would not do this even with a cast on crit build. You can. A buddy of mine has been trying it, but it's pretty difficult to clear because you cannot be everywhere at the same time. So unless you get some good explode on there and you pop those lanes, you're gonna be running into some trouble with a normal ice spear setup. Now, I know this was a lot of information, but I believe all this information to be very useful to running these maps, and I think that is what we do next. My community has implored me that it is very important that I show you guys a full map from beginning to end, where we show the thought processes as to how we build these towers, why we build them, when we move, how we move, all these things put together, all the information that we have just given you in one map. Alright, now I really hope there's going to be some information in here that hasn't yet been inside the guide, because that information might help us furthering this guide, give us more information towards this guide. Let's get to it, guys. We go to the map. Now, what's the first thing we do? We check our layout, we move our portals. But hey, guess what? Old Larry forgot portals again. Smart, right? Let's get to it. So what do? Well, we have a problem. There are no towers near this pump, as you can see. That's not a good thing. So what do? Well, the first thing we do is we start hunting. Because if there's no towers to build, why wait for towers? You might as well kill a few enemies. We start killing a few enemies, we start moving back and forth. We see a new lane pop up, so we go south. Now we see there is one tower, but there's only one of them. So what we do is we build a chill tower. Now the good news is we don't need to empower it. Like we said before, no need for empowerment. but it's only one tower. It's still pretty damn bad. This is not the map you want to see. Now this is what people ask me, what do you do if there's almost no towers at all? And as you can see, what you do is you rely on your build to do most of the work. But obviously this is not a fun map to do, especially if your build is not capable of doing this. So what we need to do now is we need to keep an eye on those red little dots. The red little dots, top to bottom, we use a half moon crescent type movements. It looks pretty simple, it is pretty simple, just don't panic. We just built a stun tower there, because if we build a stun tower, that stun tower here, we are right next to that freeze tower, which is immune to the freeze. One stun tower near it will clear that up, no problems. We have a boss there. Bosses can be a little tricky to deal with. You want to get close on one way to hit it with that ground, what is it, the brittle ground that we have on our boots. On the other hand, if you get too close, you might get one shot, they deal a lot of damage. We are making good use of our explodey to clear everything. Now we see that southern part getting pretty thick. Sometimes I make it pretty thick on purpose, so we can make the best use of explode, but there's not a lot of towers to build here, so we just can't really build anything offensive here right now. We need to be on our best game, not to let these enemies spawn too much. As you can see, these lanes get destroyed completely. That's what happens when you get too close to the boss. It's a little tricky, but we see that on the north side there is no monsters coming. You don't see any red dots near that pump. You keep your eye on the minimap at all times, because you can get distracted from what's happening down on one side of your map, and if you do that, they will come from above and they will just end the pump. So make sure you keep going top to down, or in a situation where you have a completely open situation, you go all the way around and you circle that pump. You make sure you don't stay in one area too long. Now we see a few mob towers pop up. Finally we can start empowering our stun towers. Like I said before, chill towers don't need empowerment. And we are in the last minute of this encounter. It is a pretty rough one. Usually you would build a lot of fire towers. We have 0 meteor towers right now. All I'm trying to do is keep these enemies from just overrunning us. So I'm just using modifiers that help them slow down. There really isn't much more I can do on this one, which is a good practice map, I would say. You gotta be careful with some of these modifiers. Some bosses actually throw a lot of these mortars. They can get you from a pretty big distance. You gotta be careful with that. But this is looking like we have it under control right now. You can see the southern part, there's a few enemies coming. We'll go right there. Now we have a big density up north, and it is going clear. It's so good, guys. The double explode, it's so nice. It is a very relaxing map to do. We have that boss, but the boss can't move, so we have all the time in the world to just go there. Use that desecrate, which we always do. We use the desecrate to point our minions towards the general area where we want them to go. That's why we use the desecrate. And as you can see, this map is almost clear, guys. It's been a bit of a rough one, but it's a good example map to show you what we do, how we do it, how we move, and all those things. Pretty solid, I would say. Now we gotta be careful, because this can still go wrong. If you die, the towers that you've built will stop working. Not a good thing, right? So you want to get back in there, and when you get back in there, don't forget to reapply your auras and all that kind of stuff. It's basic stuff, but you can panic and make a mistake like that, and it'll cost you dearly. But this is looking like we're not gonna die. AG is holding up pretty well. It's at about 100,000 life, doing pretty solid here. We haven't lost it yet. And that's it, guys. That's all you do. I wish I could show you some more meteor towers, but we had to do the defense here, most important of all. I hope this helped you kind of see how I do things. If you have any suggestions as to what would help, let me know in the comment section below. If you have any builds that you think are very good for this, let me know as well, guys. For now, I would say this is pretty much what I wanted to show you guys. Loot is pretty damn nice on this. As you can see, it just pops everywhere. It's been a bit of a long one. It is a very comprehensive, very deep guide on Blight Ravage maps. I hope I give you guys all the information you need to make this work for yourself, to use this strategy to make over that 10 divine per hour. It is amazing content. If you have any questions about Blight Ravage maps, if there's anything I haven't covered yet, find us on Twitch live, find us on Discord. Just send me a message and I will always try and help you when I can, guys. For now, I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank our community. You guys are amazing. You guys have helped a lot with a lot of this information that I've put into this guide. If this guide helped you, if you like this content, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Leave a thumbs up, leave a comment. It really helps the channel grow. Guys, thank you all very much. Have a great weekend. And I will catch you all live this Friday for the last and final 105 of these maps. I'm gonna keep track of the numbers again through Poestack. It's gonna be a blast. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.